Welcome to Losing a Child, Always Andy's Mom. On this podcast, we journey through the devastating experience of the death of a child. Grief is seldom discussed openly in our culture, and the death of a child makes people feel even more uncomfortable. We approach the topic openly and honestly, speaking to people who have lost loved ones and experts who help care for them. Whether you are a parent experiencing loss or someone who wants to support another going through this tragedy, this podcast strives to offer hope and help.
Welcome to episode number 343 of Losing a Child, Always Andy's Mom. I'm Marcy Larson, Andy's mom. Today's episode is from the live stream that we did earlier this week with Gwen. We wanted this to be a bit of a question and answer session, kind of a follow-up from the educational series that Gwen did in May while I took my break. We ended up not getting a lot of questions, so we kind of talked about my break and what that meant. I really didn't know what this live stream was going to be like, since I didn't put out questions for people ahead of time, which I think was a mistake, and I will definitely do that going forward. But since we didn't have a lot of questions asked, and I didn't know what would really happen. But it turned out to be a pretty special conversation, and I really felt like the overarching theme for the whole conversation was that we aren't meant to do this alone. We are meant to be in community and to get help from others. And when I was struggling this past winter, Gwen was there to help me, to pick up the pieces, to help me when I needed a break. And we talk a lot about support groups and the wonder that can come from support groups when we are living in community with each other. And I do have to say, that being said, this is really, really perfect timing because this episode was sponsored by Geeti. And Geeti has been on the podcast. She is Ruben's mom. She was episode number 231, so back a long time ago now. You may remember Geeti. Geeti is from Australia. She joined one of the Starlight support groups that I was facilitating at the time, and I believe has continued on in one of the evening groups that I no longer facilitate, but she's been an amazing resource to others there. I do want to say there's something special about Geeti. First of all, I just love her so much. But there was a special story about Compassionate Friends and about how she had wanted to go participate in Compassionate Friends in Melbourne. And she just couldn't get herself to do it. She would get ready to go. One day I remember her talking about she even had her shoes on to get in the car and go, and she just couldn't go. So I want to read the email that she sent along with her $125 donation that she sent along to sponsor this episode. So I'm going to read that email right now. Dear Marcy, I still listen every week, and I wish you would have heard my cheering you on as you took some time out from the podcast. And as always, Gwen was amazing. But now I am glad you are back and with your loving self. Thanks, Marcy. Thanks for helping us all make sense of it by being in community together. She then spoke a little bit about a rough patch that she's going through, but then wanted to say, my beautiful boy Ruben's birthday is coming up on the 8th of April, and I would be so honored if you could dedicate the closest episode to him. I did the donation through the website. And then she talks about how she would love to be back on the podcast. And then this is the part that I want you to all hear. You will be pleased to know that I made it to the Compassionate Friends in the end, and that has been so good. And I've completed their volunteer phone service support training, and I am on the support phone every Tuesday helping other grieving parents, siblings, and grandparents. I'm forever grateful to have found your podcast in 2022, shortly after Ruben died, and it basically saved me. I cry, I laugh, I lament, and most importantly, I am part of this sad but ever so beautiful community. I have to tell you, I read that email and it just made me cry. And the fact that she did not only make it to Compassionate Friends, she's now really helping be a leader in that and being on the phone every Tuesday. It makes my heart swell, and I'm so proud of her. And it just really shows what we can all do when we're in community with each other. So I tell you, it couldn't have been a more perfect time for Ruben's birthday to fall than on this episode that I did with Gwen, because she is really the epitome of what we are talking about today, and the importance of having others around you and having support from other people. And Geeti lives on the other side of the world from me. I mean, when she's in our support group, she was in the Tuesday night support group, and it was Wednesday afternoon for her. And it just was beautiful to be able to do that together and support each other in that way. And she has been a great support for so many others as well. So thank you so much, Geeti, for supporting the podcast and for sponsoring this episode, and just for your light to others, because it is just a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I love you so much. So if you would like to sponsor an episode, you can go to the website, just as Geeti did, to andysmom.com, and go to the donate page. We donate through GiveButter, so you can also just go to GiveButter and type in Always Andy's Mom and find us there. If you would like to share your story on the podcast, please feel free to email me. I am starting to get booked out a little ways again, and so probably my next batch of interviews won't really be taking place until June. But again, I need to get people on that list. So if you would like to share your story, or if you want to come back on again, that would just be beautiful. I would love that. Right now, though, I just want you to sit back and enjoy listening to Gwen and I as we just answer some questions and talk about being in a community together. Welcome to the live stream today. We have our question and answer session with Gwen, and kind of a follow-up on that educational series that you did. What did you think about doing that for me, actually, Gwen?
It was wonderful. I mean, it was like, you didn't ask me to. It was an impromptu in our conversation, and it comes natural for me because I do that a lot, and that's what I built my business around, is that piece of giving people tools and information. So it came very natural to me, and I figured out the technology and worked it out. And I think the best part was, which we wanted to talk about, is what that month allowed you to do.
Yeah, I did. Well, and I first even want to talk about before, just that decision a little bit. I mean, I think I touched base on it certainly with kind of some introductions and things, but I want to talk about a little bit more kind of things that were just sort of happening. And we had some stuff going on with the family that I really felt like I wanted to address and be present for a little bit more. And so that was important. And I think I was just starting to feel a little worn down, to be honest. I really did. It was, when you feel like it's just the same every week, like I've been doing that for 6.5 years, every week, kind of the same thing. And it was just, I don't know. I think it was just getting a little bit hard. I talked to Stephanie about it. So those of you that listened to the first episode I did back, I talked about that quite a bit with Stephanie, about how initially with the podcast, it really gave me such an outlet for my grief and was so helpful to me in my grief, which was amazing. So anyway, it changed for me, right? It was this outlet. It was really amazing and wonderful and helpful. But kind of the further along you get in grief, maybe you need a little less time in it or things like that. And it would sometimes almost bring me down a little bit. And I didn't like that, right? I don't like that. But it's hard to know. It's hard to get that balance and know what's right. So with all of these feelings, and what happened was, of course, I normally have months of guests set up, definitely at least a couple months. So they're kind of weeks set up ahead of time. And all of a sudden I hit the point where I had nobody. I mean, I had literally nobody. I called you in the middle of January. I had one or two lined up. And I didn't even have one for the last week of January. And that was crazy. Like I've just never had that in the last 5+ years. I've never gone a stretch like that. And I guess I sort of seemed like maybe God was telling me, hey, Marcy, you need to take a break, you know? And I had thought in the past, occasionally when I'd felt a little overwhelmed, I thought, I wonder if Gwen would just do one. But I've never asked you because I've never wanted to ask you. Like, I didn't want to ask her that. I don't want to ask her that. And as you just said, I didn't ask you. I didn't ask you at all. No, you just volunteered. You just like threw it out there, exactly what I needed. So that was beautiful. And thank you for that. And it really was a good time of respite for me. It really was. I really needed that. I honestly, the thing that stresses me out the most are some of these logistical things, like I'm going to miss an email. I'm going to, I'm a little ADHD myself. I'm sure probably all the listeners probably have figured that out. But, but for me, I get worried about missing things and things getting past me and those kind of stresses and all of the things that I have to do and making sure that everything's going okay. So to have a little bit of that where I sort of let go of that, and all I had to do really was listen to the episode that you did, do a little bit of a write-up for it, and put it out. Like, that was so much easier than my normal process, So anyway, give me a month.
It's so interesting as you say that, like, taking a break from something is good. Like sabbaticals, just taking a season back, whether you've had a pastor or someone in ministry who's been giving and giving to people, even though it feeds your soul, it costs your soul something when you're that intensely connected to people. And I was thinking of the expression, even sunshine burns if you get too much. Like, there's some good things that hurt us, right?
Right.
So sometimes we have to step back. So interesting that you say that, because February was your month, and in March, my husband and I
went to
Florida for the month of March. And I still saw a few clients and I checked emails, but one of the things that I unplug from is all year, most of the books I read are books that are recommended to me, and they're all about grief, right? Like they're every in-service I go to keep my credentials updated. It's all about social work, therapy, EMDR, whatever it is. So when I'm on vacation, I get to just read. Well, a month's vacation, I read 5 books. 5 books. And just to let my brain do something. But what I was also thinking is I did have a few friends that came to visit, and they were only there for like 6 days. So the first 3 days, all they did was want to be in the sun. And then they got too much sun. And the next 2, we had to stay out of the sun. So like sometimes it's just too much. Like you can't do everything that like they wanted to soak up all the sun in those 6 days, but it really wasn't good for their bodies. So like there are times we just need to step away from something for a little bit, and that's healthy.
Yeah. And I feel kind of bad even saying it because I love the podcast. I love doing the podcast. I love everything about it. But it really was good for me to take a little bit of time away from that. It really was. And then it got me thinking. It got me thinking kind of about, well, what do I want things to look like when I go back? Maybe I should try doing things a little bit differently. And so I am going to do that. And I have done that. Normally, I never like to do more than 1 podcast on a day because it just gets a little bit emotionally draining for me. But I did plan like 5 in a week, which turns out 5 in a week is a little bit much because the 5th one, I cried almost the whole time. I think that was maybe the one that went out last week. Yeah, I think it was. So if you notice, I cried pretty much the whole episode last week. So there's that. And then I thought, and now it got me to think like, okay, I think maybe 4 is your limit to do in a week. But really, if I do 4 in a week and I do 1 week a month, we're good, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's
and then
going
you can
to
have
be
the rest of the time.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
I've done
Yep.
2 of those weeks so far. I did 5 the first week. I did 4 the second week. And I definitely think 4 was a little bit better. And then I've got another week coming up here next week. Actually, I do my 3rd week of doing interviews. And the other reason why I so felt like it was God wanting me to take this time is because, as I said to you, I had nobody scheduled. Nobody.
Mhm.
After I had my break, probably about 2 weeks into the break, the emails just started coming. And now I have people booked into July. So
Wow.
I booked my February week of interviews, because I had to do the end of February to get going again for March. And my March week, I have my April week coming up next week, and now I'm starting to schedule my May week. I've got enough people, I just haven't slotted them right in. And that's putting me through, to have things through about middle of July. So it's just kind of beautiful. I mean, it's just working out
Mhm.
great so far, and I feel really good about it. I just feel like
Mhm.
I needed the break almost to just do a little reset and a little think, like, how
Mhm.
do I want to do this now? How should this work moving
Mhm.
forward? And what's a little bit maybe healthier for me? So anyway, but I still answer emails like normal. I still do things like normal. It's just that I have a little more free time on some of those weeks where I'm not doing interviews to be able to do that. And hopefully for me too, that will help me stay more caught up on emails and not miss someone and not make kind of those errors that I'm always worried about making if I
Mhm.
have other weeks that are not quite
Mhm.
so full
Right.
of also doing interviews at the same time. You see? So
Mhm.
anyway, that's kind of the
Right.
hope.
Yeah. And when you're in a helping situation and you miss an email, and if you were to just cast, one of the things with that is then it leaves people like, oh, almost feeling abandoned, right? So we
Yeah.
never want to abandon people because we want to
No.
stay, and God clearly made it so that you could stay by having the reset. But if we miss an email, I have had that happen a couple times where I think, I check it on my phone and I go, as soon as I get to my desk,
Yeah.
I'm going to take care of that. And in the
Uh-huh. And then
busyness
you
of life,
don't, right?
and
Yeah.
I feel so bad. Like I explained to people, like, yeah, that's not my norm because I never want them to feel they finally reached out for help. And then, I mean, life
Yeah.
happens. And if I've just had to be honest about it and just say,
Right.
I'm so sorry you were brave enough to reach out, but I know what
No.
that feels like. And it feels sometimes really heavy.
Yeah. And I'm not answering emails every day. I mean, that's just not possible for me with my work schedule and all this other stuff going on. I can't, but hopefully I can have
Mm-hmm.
those days where I can do
Right.
that a little bit easier, that I'm not doing interviews at those times. So I like that. Okay,
Right.
so this episode really was supposed to be kind
Yeah.
of a question and
Um,
answer follow up after your educational series, really, right? So, for people who are
mm-hmm.
watching right now, if you have a follow up question for Gwen or even a question for me, honestly, it can be about the educational series, it can be about anything. It does not matter. Post it now. Usually, with these live streams, we have a specific topic and I write some specific questions down that we kind of put out the week before, but I didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so I did not do that ahead of time. So because of that, we don't have questions set up. So we kind of really need to rely on people doing that right now. And I guess we have one. So we have a question coming from Instagram
Okay.
from Julie. Said maybe planning a break like you just had every year might be a tradition for yourself. I mean, and that's a
Hmm.
good thought. She's
Oh,
not
that's
the
a neat
only one that
idea.
has asked me that. Has said that to me. I've had other people say that to me. Like, I think you probably need to do that again. So I don't know. This is now see
Mm-hmm.
if you're up for
Yeah.
that, Gwen, to do something other times too. But
Oh,
I think that's probably
absolutely.
I think it's
Yeah.
probably is a good idea to think about doing a
Mm-hmm.
little more of a break on a regular basis instead of every 6.5 years.
Right. I I have to laugh because when I said that I read 5 books on vacation, being gone a month, I went to the library. I kind of have this genre that I like that just hopefully just kind of takes me away a little bit. And in the 5 of the books, 2 of them were about death. And I was kind of like, that's not the break I wanted, but it was good to read about it different and just from a different perspective. Like someone died in both of them and they were grieving. And I'm like laughing, just saying, yeah, but so you build in a vacation every year in your job. So why not build in a vacation in what you're doing with the podcast? Because it's truly a labor of love. And like you said, it started to help yourself. And the interesting thing about you, Marcy, is that this isn't the only thing that you do for bereaved people.
No.
You also lead the support group.
Yep.
For Starlight.
Which I didn't stop doing that in February. I mean, that still happened in February for sure.
Right.
So. And for those of you who might be interested in doing that in a support group, and we're going to talk a little bit about support groups, I think, today, because we had some little backup conversation if people don't share any questions. But we do have support group coming up again here starting in a week or two. I've got to look at my calendar to see when they start up again. Okay. But starting up next Tuesday is my first group. They've got groups Monday nights. Tuesday day group is mine, and then Tuesday night. So if you want some more information on joining the Starlight Ministries virtual support groups, you can definitely do that by going to starlightmin.org, emailing Chris and getting into one of those groups. I mean, they are coming up again, and it'll be our last session before summer. So that's a great opportunity to do that. But if you are interested in that, I would love to have more people. We would definitely welcome more people to come on into the group, but you just need to go to starlightmin.org and talk with Chris and about getting registered.
So that's what we were going to talk about. Is the reason I developed an educational piece to grief is because I realized that some people learn. I mean, everyone learns differently, right? Like we have ways that which we want to grieve. Some people are more instrumental than intuitive. They want tell me the steps, tell me what people say, what the research says. And that's why I developed that. So let's talk about support first before we talk about what we did in February. Is that what you're talking about in Starlight is when people are part of a group, it's peer led. So you're not a therapist. You are a bereaved mom who leads the group. You have materials that you follow. There's some kind of structure, but it's really for the group to share and people can say what they want to or not want to. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the 100%. Other part is, have you had times, I mean, I've been leading support groups, but have you had times where you've had someone in the group that they really don't share, but they listen to everybody else?
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah. We've definitely had that.
Yeah. So if someone is thinking about joining a support group, is that you don't have to share if you don't want to. There is value in listening to other people as well.
Yes, 100%.
So because I mean, some people want to be in a support group, but they feel pressure. Yeah. Interesting is that when I lead an educational class and I explain that it is for me educating them, then they raise their hand and they say, well, when do we get to share? I say, well, not in this setting, right? Like, right. Purpose, because there's other people who came for the class who do not want to share. They want to get the stuff and get out. And so now when I do a live educational class, I follow it up with couple weeks of support where people can just spend time with me and tell their story, and they can be in a group setting. So that's the difference. And that's what a support group's all about. There was a couple things I did want to say that I know you shared that there are virtual groups for bereaved parents, but if someone there has a parent who's widowed, like their own parents who are widowed or someone, they also have virtual groups for other types of losses. They do. Is that correct as well?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
We used to just have the parents group, and then they added the virtual groups for widows and widowers, and now they even have a general loss group as well. So
that's really, amazing. Really great.
So
it's a resource that people can share.
I had
a few comments before I go on and keep talking.
Yes, we do. We have some
Mm-hmm.
comments. Dixie wrote in some comments. Just thank you for all you both do for grieving moms was her first comment. And then just talking a little more personally about she just passed the 7th-year anniversary and the suffering has been horrible. Life goes on for everyone else, but feels like it stood still at that time. And then just about the only small break in that suffering was listening to the podcast, and very grateful for that. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think, I mean,
Yeah.
talking about that suffering and touching on the suffering, because that was one of your topics, talking about when in
Mm-hmm.
your
Yeah.
series. So maybe touch on that a little bit, just
Yeah.
about the suffering.
Right. I just had a bereaved parent reach out to me, and it's been close to 4 years, I think. And they had come to the educational class, they've come to some support things that I've done. And they said, why do I still have these days of suffering? And one of the things that I said to them is, I think it becomes more of a longing sometimes where it's not, I'm not saying she's not suffering, but the suffering when we're early in our grief is an intense, gut wrenching pain of
Mm-hmm.
just not even believing this is really our life. But when, as Dixie mentioned, 7 years or this family 4 years, what that suffering becomes is a longing for our child,
Yeah.
right? Like that missing and realizing that we're always going to carry it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
I
that
hope that makes
longing does
sense,
not
but
go away. That longing does not
mm-mm,
go away.
mm-mm, not on this side of heaven. Mm-mm,
No.
nope.
And that's so hard.
And I do, yeah, it is. It is. I just did a video on my Facebook page this week. I posted last week was about relating grief like a rock in your pocket or a stone in your pocket.
Yeah.
That with
Mm-hmm.
grief, it might not be as heavy, but it's always there. You can't take it
Mm-hmm.
out. It's you always have to carry it. And some days it's lighter, and some days it's sharp, but you never get to not carry it.
I know. I love that
Mm-hmm.
analogy. I've heard it so long ago about how that
Mm-hmm.
rock starts off as like a huge boulder that you're just
Yeah.
dragging with you all the time, and it's really
Mm-hmm.
all encompassing in your life, right? And it's just everything, and it takes every bit of strength
Mm-hmm.
you have to just keep moving the boulder at all. And then that boulder, it just kind of
Mm-hmm.
changes. It changes and it gets a little smaller. It's still with you. It's still always there, but it ends up being more of a rock, and sometimes even a rock that you can get in your pocket that you don't feel all the time. You don't feel those sharp pokes on it
Yeah.
all the time, but sometimes, wow, it really just
Mm-hmm.
pokes you and hurts really hard. And that's that feeling of suffering that I
Yeah.
think Dixie still talks about and still feel, and that I feel, right?
Right.
And even going back
Yeah.
to
Yep.
when I tried to do
I want to
five
go to what.
podcast episodes in a week, when it gets to that point of just going down that so much again and again and again, it's just there and it's just constantly poking me at that point, right? Mm-hmm.
Something else Dixie said is the only break she gets is listening, and that's what support groups do. That's what the educational series does, is normalizes for us when we go, I'm not alone, or someone's
Yeah.
explaining. Because in the educational thing, the series that we did, and people can go back and listen to those episodes. I think there were 333 through 337, something like that.
Yeah.
They're under your
I think
recent
so.
episodes if they miss them. But just when people hear something explained of why maybe we hurt the way we hurt, or why it might be taking longer for you, or why some emotions are difficult, is it gives us a break, and it's like somebody else is carrying the stone with us, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Mm-hmm. I think that is, Demi just wrote something that is exactly that, exactly what you just said. Said the only thing that has helped me ease my pain at the beginning of my grief was listening to Marcy speak to guests. This made me feel so less alone. She's listened to every single episode and her heart aches for all of our pain. But see, that's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you talked about, not feeling alone. If you hear that
Yeah.
and that resonates with you and like, okay, she's feeling this too. Maybe maybe this is normal. Maybe this is okay because all these other people are feeling the same things that I'm feeling. It just makes you feel so much less alone. And it's such an grief is so isolating.
Right. Well, I love what Jody said. She said grief and loss taint everything. Like it is a lens we look through. Like it affects everything. Even the best days and the happy occasions have had parts of them where the heartache comes back in full force. I always thought it would start to fade after a certain amount of years, but it still feels heavier at times. I just know to expect it now. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that she said that having that expectation that she thought it would fade. I think that's what all of us maybe felt to an extent, right? If when you're not bereaved, I think you think that, okay, you think to the old adage, time heals all wounds, right? And you think this is a wound, time is going to heal it. And other people think time is going to heal your wounds. But now it's just different. You just realize it is there. And that rock, back to the rock analogy, sometimes it feels heavy, sometimes it feels sharp, sometimes it doesn't feel as heavy and sharp. But it's expected, and you know it's going to be there, and you know the rock's never going away, right? Never.
Right. Yeah, and I use the analogy because I did a video on this too, because 2 family members had experienced cancer last year, and they got to ring the bell when they were cancer-free and done with their treatments. And I said, bereaved people never get to ring the bell. Like we have this illusion that we're going to hit a finish line that, I'm not going to feel some of these things anymore. And then when we do, we realize that there's no finish line.
No, there isn't. It's just changed you forever. And it's the way things are.
Yeah. Can I share something with you that I just thought of when I was reading both women's comments about listening to the support group, making them, or the podcast, not making them feel so all alone. So our last week in Florida, my husband's fishing and he's catching a lot of fish and people are drawn to him. And a little girl comes over on the beach and she's jabbering. I'm going to call her Annie. She's 10 years old. Annie just starts, what kind of fish is that? I want to learn to fish. Blah, 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 blah. And then Annie comes over to me and I said, well, are you on vacation? And she said, no, I'm a snowbird. She's 10. She's a snowbird. I said, oh. And she told me where she lives and, way far away. And she said, I'm homeschooled. So we came down here for a long time. And then she said, because my mom used to have 6 kids and one of them died in May and now she only has 5 kids. And then she looked at me and she said, she's kind of raw. Do you know what raw is? And I said, I do know what raw is. And I said, that's got to be, she said, so we came down here so my mommy wasn't, So I grabbed a piece of paper from my backpack and I just started writing about the podcast. And I said to this sweet little girl, Annie, I said, I think God wanted you to meet me today. And she goes, what do you know about God? And I said, well, I know he lives in my heart. She said, mine too. And she said, are you a Christian? And she got all excited that I knew, So this little girl and I were bonded. And I said, I believe that God wanted you to meet me today so that your mommy could have some support to not help her feel so raw. And the whole time I'm watching the mom watch us, like, what is that woman talking to my daughter about? So I wrote down the podcast. I wrote how the episodes, how to find them. I always tell people, read the bio, see which stories speak to you, blah, 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 blah. And I walked over with this little girl and said to the mother, and I told the mother, and the mother was completely overwhelmed. She said, you don't know how bad I needed this. And I said, God knew. I didn't know. I was just sitting there on the beach, but your little girl. And then when I told her that her little girl said, my mommy's raw, she said, I've never used those words. Like her little insightful mind knew that her mom needed to come down there. And
my word, Gwen.
So I don't know if this woman's listening. I obviously changed her daughter's name, but just knowing. And then she said to me, I have another friend whose child died and I can help them too and tell them about the podcast. And I don't know if I'll ever see this. I probably will never see this mom. Maybe she'll reach out to me. I put my email down, but just the fact that she could listen and know she's not alone, just I don't know what I'd do without the podcast, because I'd be stuck there not knowing what resource to give people.
Oh, Gwen, that is so touching. I can't believe you waited to tell me, and this when we're live with everybody. Now I'm crying, but thank you so much. It is. Oh, that's just beautiful. That's beautiful. It turned out that way.
I cried. I came home and I told my kids, and
Mm-hmm.
Well, and if you had a listener a while ago, so I think I can talk about it because it's public, it's out there.
Yeah.
And about her son, and right now I think her son's name, I want to say it was Josh, but now I can't remember her son's name.
No, it is.
But Anne,
I'm pretty sure.
We went to a conference and she felt like God hadn't really met her at the conference, but I offered to give her a ride to the airport. And on the way to the airport, she found out that I was a grief person and that God had provided this. And she's been on the podcast and she's helping so many other people. And I said to her,
do you know I emailed Anne today?
You did?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
I did email her today. Isn't that funny? Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. But the fact that God loved her so much that I said that of all the people to offer you a ride to the airport after this conference, it's me. And that's the way I felt about this mom on the beach. Of all of the people that her daughter could go up and just talk to. And that girl was so excited to walk me over to her mom, like she had just found the biggest thing on the beach. Like she was so happy to say, Mom, this lady helps people.
Oh,
it was pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome. So we've got a couple other comments here. I had one on Instagram that just said so helpful. So great. Yes. Thank you for that. And then we have another one. Do you want to read Demi's comment here too?
Yes. And it said, I think that we are all experts in our own grief, and it is very helpful to have someone that is bereaved ahead of you, knowing that they can keep you going.
That they can keep going. You will keep going as well.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And you will keep going as well. Yeah. That is so true. And I always tell bereaved people, find someone a few miles ahead of you, a few years, and look to them for encouragement. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because that's what Stephanie's been to me since the beginning, right? That's what she's been.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's why I think having different ways. So you have the podcast where you can hear people's story. You have a support group you can go to. Sometimes people need one-on-one. You've been very honest about your one-on-ones, whether, you've done some with me or you had your therapist that you worked with, a lot of trauma stuff people work
through. And
through.
Obviously people have you as a resource to other people, right?
Yes.
They can go to Grief Guide.
And many of your listeners, yep.
And I know we do have people certainly in common that have been on my podcast and that have seen you, like many people I know. Mm-hmm.
And I think we should tell the listeners that I feel confident of keeping the coupons still, that if people want a discount to talk with me in those sessions, that we will, if they reach out to you or me, we'll make the coupons available for the discount that were offered on the educational episodes in February, because I just feel so connected to this group that I want to offer.
Yeah, I just had someone email me recently, and I said that very thing, and I was like, didn't really run this past Gwen, but I think it will be okay.
No,
it's not far gone from that, and I think you're a great resource to have for people. So I love that. I love being able to tell people.
And you want to, And what's interesting is when on the backside of my website, I have to go in and put the coupon in, and it asks how long you want the coupon to be valid. And I always write unlimited. I'm not going to say, in 30 days that's going to expire, because that's not the way grief goes. So it's available if people want it.
Well, very good. Good. I appreciate that so much. And I know listeners appreciate it too. It's so funny because I've often had people, especially local people, they want to know like who my therapist is and see my therapist, who is amazing, but she,
yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to deal with that at some point in time. Yeah.
I lost your volume there for a minute. Did you say she's retiring? Is that what you said?
I did say she's retiring. Yes, she's retiring. Did you know that?
Okay.
Nancy's retiring?
I did. Yeah. And I assume that's what you said. Yeah. And that's a loss too. It's a loss
Yeah,
for
it is a
me
loss.
and for you and for others, because when you have someone who's good and you want to refer and then you don't have those good referral pools,
I know.
you know,
I know.
it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Glad I've got you.
Mhm.
Don't retire, Gwen. Don't retire.
Thank you. Well, that's yeah. I still might take a little month break every once in a while, but I won't retire
I like the month
yet.
break.
Yeah.
We might both have to do a month break. We just can't take the same month.
Yep. Right. Right.
We cannot take the same month.
No,
that's going to be our rule.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of like, even for bereaved people who ask me, I had this happen where the death happened between the first of the year and spring break. And should we still go on our spring break trip? And how many times have bereaved people asked me, like, oh, we had plans to do this. Should we still do that? Sometimes in grief, we do need a change of scenery, even though we take our grief with us. I mean, we can't leave it at home. But just a change of scenery for bereaved people is healthy and good.
I mean, I've definitely spoken to people who have done that, who've taken a little trip afterwards just to get away a little bit and just change the geography a little bit and trying to, and whether it helps a little or doesn't. I mean, it's hard. It's hard no matter where you are. But canceling those things is sometimes not helpful either. It's just, who knows?
Right. Yeah. Well, everyone has to do, like, we are our own expert and we know what we can and can't handle. But sometimes people want to know if it's wrong if they keep up with a vacation. And I don't think it's wrong.
Yeah. So the other thing that we have done since starting back is I have had some people back on the podcast who were on perhaps early on in their grief, kind of revisit things. Yep. So I've had a couple so far on, and one before my break came back. Obviously, that was Hunter's mom. And then somebody wrote to me when I was going on the break saying, boy, hearing from Hunter's mom again was really helpful. Maybe you could do that some more. So I had Stephanie back on. Caleb's mom's been on in the past. She would like to come back on. So I think this is going to be some nice things too. I was actually I may have Caleb's mom come on a time when you and I are together, actually, and have her see if she might want to do even a live stream with us. I think that would be nice, don't you? I haven't told her. I haven't asked her if she wants to do it that way.
I just had another thought, yeah. And I had another thought. I don't know about Caleb's mom, but when we were addressing, I don't know why you reached out to Anne, Josh's mom, but even just like knowing that there are many of, I know Michelle, Corbin's mom, that they're doing things that are helping other people. Maybe it'd be fun to have an episode where people write in like how they're now helping other bereaved people.
Oh, I like that. That might be a great topic to kind of go through to revisit. With that revisit. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and the pros and cons of that. Yeah, and the pros and cons, because you've already mentioned, like, one is it keeps you in your grief and keeps you with newly bereaved people, which can be heavy, but it also helps you realize that you're not in that same space anymore.
I know, it's kind of both. It can kind of be both, yeah. Absolutely. Oh. Well, other thoughts, other things that we wanted to talk about today? Is we can certainly end early. I also decided that can happen.
Yeah, I think we talked about everything. I think that was one of the changes that you said that you made, like just allowing it to be, not
as long as it kind of needs
having
to be.
Every episode have to be an hour, right?
Yep. Exactly right. If they're shorter, they're shorter. It's okay. It's okay either way. I think feeling pressure to kind of stretch things out, if it doesn't seem like it naturally should be stretched out, is ends up being not good. So, and sometimes I go way over. So people can be happy with a little bit of a short one every now and again.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. If anybody has any other comments that they want to throw in here quickly, we certainly can have that. Otherwise, we are fine to kind of sign off a little bit too. I don't think we have. Did we come up with a topic for the next one? Okay. I was going to say, I think we did. What is it again?
You did. You sent it to me.
I did send it to you. What is
Hmm.
it though?
I'm gonna look.
Um,
You did. I'm gonna.
I know I
Isn't
did.
that horrible that neither one of us? Um.
I know. Here it is. Here it
Okay.
is.
Topics. I was wondering about doing one on changing season, changing schedules, and summer in
Oh, that's
particular.
right. Yes, that's what it was. That's what I think will be good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was thinking
Mm-hmm.
about that with now we're going into springtime here and how the change in seasons can be really, really difficult. And I don't think we've really had a
Mm-hmm.
time when we've talked about that. I mean, we've talked certainly about change, but I think that seemed like that would be a really good topic. And our next live stream is going to be kind of in that time when we are transitioning to summer, to like thinking about summer schedule and things like that. Let me see. I
Mm-hmm.
think let's look at the date of when it's going to be. I believe it's the week of May 18th. So I think we'll probably do it on May 18th, right? That's a Monday night. That's usually what we do. And that's really the very end of the school year.
Oh.
You're thinking about things like summer vacations
Mm-hmm.
and summer plans and just all of that. I think all the season changing is hard, but I think sometimes
Mm-hmm.
going into summer and going into fall from summer are a little more difficult because even if you certainly if your child died when they're still in the home and still in school and all of that, that's a big thing. But even if they didn't, even if they died when they're adults, you still think back. Like the beginning of summer, you think back
Mm-hmm.
of what those summer vacations were like and summer memories and things like that. So I did feel like that would be a good
Mm-hmm.
topic to talk about. Yep. And then Mary agrees. So Mary
Mm-hmm.
just wrote in and said, "Oh, this is going to be great. Change of seasons effect on
Yep.
grief. I like that." So, yeah, that was feeling like a
Yeah.
really good topic for me. So, I think that'll be great to talk about. And then we will make sure this time to be on
Mm-hmm.
top of it and put out some questions ahead of time on Facebook and Instagram. I am happy to announce that the
Mm-hmm.
Instagram feed worked beautifully this time, and we had several people watching on Instagram. So I love that. But that means that I can put out those questions on
Oh,
Instagram and not
good.
feel guilty about the fact that the Instagram might not work. So we've got everything working now. There were a few
Okay.
little problems today, but overall, I feel like things are working well. So that'll be,
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I don't know. We'll see about the time, but I think we're going to try probably for this time again. So 4:30 in the afternoon
Yeah.
Eastern time, I
Because.
think is what we decided. If it seems like other
Mm-hmm.
people, if you write in and you have very strong feelings that this is not a good time, we can make some changes. But I think for the most part, I think that's what we're going to try for.
Mm-hmm.
Sound good?
Okay.
All right.
Sounds
Any
great.
closing words?
Okay.
Oh, we had one more comment.
No,
Holly
I
wrote in.
just
Thanks, ladies. As always, great,
mhm.
useful information. Year two, Jonathan, Forever 21. Thank you so much, Holly, for writing in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Go ahead, Gwen.
Yeah. No, I just think that I think the overall thing that led me today, whether it's a story of the mom on the beach or your listeners or yourself, that we're not meant to do this alone. And we have to find ways that make us have a little bit of getting education, talking to. I am glad. I know I'm not being self-righteous, but I do know that after 38 years of doing this, that I've somehow done something right to keep myself healthy. And I want to say that I've identified that in you, that you knew what you needed to be healthy. And I'm so thankful for that we can keep helping others because we take care of ourselves. So I want to salute you on that.
Well, and thank you so much.
Yep.
And thank you again for doing such a wonderful job in February.
Okay.
It really was helpful to me too. I learned a ton and I
Oh,
really,
thank you.
really I felt like everyone got better. So thank you for that. And just thanks for being such a great friend.
Oh, good. Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for listening. If you found this helpful and would like to support the podcast, please leave a 5-star rating and comment. To help financially, you can type Andy's Mom, one word, to the number 53555. This provides a link to GiveButter, which allows donations through PayPal, Venmo, Apple Pay, or credit cards. GiveButter will provide a receipt of your tax-deductible donation, or you can visit the donation page at andysmom.com/donate. Always Andy's Mom is a registered 501c3 and can receive donations through Thrivent Financial and Benevity. Marcy loves hearing from listeners. Please feel free to reach out to her via email at marcy@andysmom.com or on the Instagram or Facebook Always Andy's Mom accounts. Sign up for the email list to get weekly episode links as well as pictures of Marcy's guests and their children. Together, let's work to inspire hope, one day at a time.